out my headphones have a mute button, so I can push the mute button when I start coughing.
All right, perfect. All right, well, welcome, guys. It's time for Block Talk. We're on Bitcoin block 440600. I should have pulled up the trade block site because apparently the mempool is full from all the Black Friday shopping today. So we'll see how that gets kind of worked out through the weekend. Some awesome sponsors to talk about quickly. First off, we have Bittrex, next generation crypto exchange. These guys are kind of leading the way in security and regulatory bodies for the altcoins. Really good exchange here to kind of work your way into the second level of cryptocurrencies. Um, what else here? We got Crypto Tech. These guys are a European-based software company doing work in security and cryptography. Lots of cool projects. There's one here that I didn't notice from before, Logic. So I'll have to ask Luke about that and find out more. And they don't sponsor the show, but they deserve a mention anyways. Good friend Mike. He runs his company Coin Card. So if you are in Canada and you have Bitcoins and you want to cash out a little bit, buy some gift cards with it. Right now they're doing a little promotion for the month of November. If you purchase a gift card, you are entered a chance to win $1,000 gift card of your choice. So yeah, get your Timmies on or buy some Apple Store credits, whatever you want. They got all these cards here. So check them out at coincards.ca. And lastly, guys, we like the audience participation. So if you have any questions or topics for me or the guests during the show, feel free to ask. And yeah, let's get on to the main event here. So hi, I'm Alex, and on the show today we have the infamous, famous, whatever you want to call him, Sigwo, aka Stephen Grove.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Well, we're happy to have you on the show here. I know we've kind of crossed paths in the crypto scene for a long time. I remember even back in the Archcoin days, so we
Oh,
all had fun
yeah.
there.
Yeah, my floating Moby's in the back.
You've done lots of projects for lots of different coins, and I know even for Arch, you had like the staking Raspberry Pis. So
Yep.
it's like you're very adept programmer, not just with software, but also some hardware systems.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to kind of figure out where you fit in and where you can help, people that don't want to take the time or maybe they have a different talent. So you fill each other's niche and make a better ecosystem, hopefully.
Yeah. No, that's what we all got to do in this decentralized economy. We all got to kind of work together and see what we can build by working off each other's strengths. So, what sort of background do you have outside of cryptocurrencies?
So by day, I am a network engineer. Currently, I lead a team of contractors in a service design realm. So we use uh, what's called the ITIL framework for service design, service integration, service operations. So my section or my team takes all of the ideas and basically builds the idea, builds the build guides for the idea, tests the idea, and then shows the operations section on how to actually use that technology or whatever we built. So like right now we're re-architecting all of the states and territories security stacks for the Army National Guard. So they had an aging infrastructure. So they said, hey, we need to replace all this hardware. We've got 2 stacks in each site. We need to go down to 1. So we got together and figured out what we didn't know 5 or 6 years ago, took the new technology, put it all together, and built a stack that can do the stuff of 2 stacks and a shared management construct with the states and the federal government so they can both manage the same security stack and architecture. So that's kind of a high level thing, I guess. You can smush it together. And
Well, the U.S. military, that's a hell of a client to be
oh, I think I lost you.
having, and I see you got your uniform there in the back.
I'm losing you, Alex.
So I assume you did.
Uh-oh. I think his hotspot's dying. Are you still there, Alex? Are you still there?
Switch.
You still there?
Let's see here. Let's go audio only here.
Okay.
All right. So can you hear me now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Okay. My phone switched from 4G. But okay, so you do some work for the military. That's a pretty high priority client, and I see you have your uniform there in the background. So you are part of the military as well?
That is correct. I'm a Chief Warrant Officer 3 in the National Guard. I work full time for that. That's what I do every day.
Nice. So with doing these systems, do you ever come across anything like, the nuclear launch codes? Oh, geez, this file here should be encrypted.
Thankfully, no. I tend to stay away from all of that stuff. I just build the infrastructure. They get to do all that secret squirrel stuff on.
Okay. Well, no, it's pretty interesting. So this Sigwo technology is that kind of something separated from that? It's purely your crypto side endeavors.
100%. That's correct.
And you have quite a few. There's the Sigwo Net and then Sigwo Farm or Sig Farm.
So those two are both assets on the NXT blockchain. So I started Sigwo Net in June of 2015, and that was to basically be able to give back to people that said, hey, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing, and he can give us a return if we buy his tokens on the NXT. So building multi-pools, doing odd jobs and stuff for different cryptocurrency projects, selling pie stakers, for like altcoin and other types of coins that people would ask for. So I would take those, and each month I would give a return to the people that had bought those tokens. And the reason I did that is because the token sale enabled me to pre-purchase the hardware for the pie stakers, and then be able to take some of that and use programming to build trade bots, like on Bittrex and Poloniex. So I would fund those trade bots with people that would buy those tokens. So that's SigwoNet. And then SigFarm, kind of the same premise. We got together and pooled money together to buy parts to rigs. And then I had the rigs here in my basement. And then each started off each month, I would distribute those rewards back to everybody in Super BTC, which is another token that's one-for-one swappable for Bitcoin. And then there was a request, hey, let's do this, every other week. So twice a month, I would do it on the 15th and the end of the month, send those rewards out. And I just started that in September. So that we started SigFarm in April of this year. And it's still going on till November. The last payment for SigFarm will be the end of November, so in 5 days. And the return, if you would have gotten in at the very, very beginning, when this first went live, you would be back to almost 100% return on your investment. So what I did, because I didn't want to leave anybody out, so I took SigwoNet and SigFarm, and I'm going to do a one-for-one swap into Darcrus, which is the token that we're doing an ICO for right now. So those people,
Cool.
so they'll be all brought forward, so nobody's left behind. I don't want to. Oh, thanks for your, for your trust and your money, and now go away. It's, bring everybody up and continue to go forward and do good things, and hopefully being around with SigwoNet and SigFarm, and being in the Slack chats and conversing with people and helping. Hopefully, people have realized this guy's legit. He's trying to do good things, and he's got some good ideas to go forward with.
Well, I think the key thing we see that there are serial coin creators in the space who what you're doing is you're value for.
I can't hear you.
To go a little deeper in this one, so yeah, your information that you're carrying about now. You hear me now?
Now I can hear you. I totally didn't hear anything you asked or said after I stopped talking.
Oh my God, brutal. Okay, well, I guess I'll be purely audio, but okay. So, yeah, it's kind of a nice that can create a project. You know, lots of people maybe mine it or goes on for a couple months, and then like, oh yeah, that was fun. Okay, they disappear for a bit and they come back and they want to do the next thing. But you're kind of you're showing this development cycle and you're carrying value forward or with. So, catch that?
I think what you were trying to say is that it's good that I stuck around and continued to continue those two projects, and now that I'm going to start a third project to bring all of those projects together. I think that's what you said. It was very, very choppy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, let's see here what the guys in the chat here are saying. My audio is wrecked, yeah. Let me try and get some LTE here.
All right, let me
yeah,
see.
I had some bad weather roll in.
Let's see. Where's my...
Let's see.
Where did the YouTube link go? There it is.
So you're kind of hearing me half-ass, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't seem to get my phone to get better reception, and that's really the best I have. Maybe we'll another time here, but let's try and power through just a little longer here. So yeah, you carry the value forward. Can you tell us more about Sig Farm, like the equipment that you purchased and what you were mining, and how that profit kind of came back to the tokens?
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, it got real quiet. So you were looking for what Sig Farm we bought with the Sig Farm funds and what we've been mining, right?
Okay. The equipment that you purchased, like how big was the farm?
Oh, okay. So the farm, we ended up with 7 rigs. So 6 cards per rig, 42 cards. We mined many different, well, not a whole bunch because there was only a few that really made any money. So it was, we mined Ethereum for a while. We mined LBC right when the GPU miner came out. So that was a good profitable coin to mine for a little bit. We mined Ethereum Classic, of course, that had its heyday. A lot of ETH, a lot of Ethereum, and then we mined Zcash, of course, when that came out, and the GPU miner that just kept getting better and better, with each release from everybody. So, and then see, we mined SIA coin for a little bit. when it had its little pump. We started mining it a little bit. So yeah, but that's pretty much it. We didn't mine a whole bunch of different coins because there's not a lot of profitable coins out
How
there.
many rigs did you have?
7 rigs. Are you there?
Running of cards.
Let's see. Close.
Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Okay. What kind of cards did you have? And how many rigs?
So we started with R9 390s by MSI. And then we built 5 of those. And then right around that time, the RX 480s came out. So I bought 2 more rigs with RX 480s. And then I started replacing the 390s with RX 480s because when you flashed the BIOS on those RX 480s, you only lost 5 mega hash on ETH, but you cut your power in half as well. So that was towards the end. We only had the RX 480s for October, November. So we will see, if we reach our funding goal for Darcrus, you'll see those RX 480s be able to decrease that power requirement for the buyback program in Darcrus.
So any reason why you don't use the Sapphire cards? I know that right now it seems to be a toss-up between the 480s MSI and the 480 Sapphire.
So I do have 6 Sapphires. And the one good thing about the Sapphires is when you flash the BIOS, you can have, if you mess up, you can flip the switch back. They have an actual switch on them. And I haven't bought any new cards since middle of October, maybe just right after middle of October, because I knew that Darcrus was going to come, and the fundraising, I guess you can say, for Sig Farm had started to stall. So I could only buy new cards and expand new rigs when people were using the swap to buy Sig Farm tokens.
No, I was looking on Newegg today, and right now the price is identical for the Sapphires and the MSIs, so it's a kind of a good chance to maybe buy 3 of each and really compare them. But would you recommend one over the other?
I think it really comes down to personal preference. It's kind of like Coke and Pepsi. They're both pretty good. I had good luck with the MSIs when I first started buying them, and then I just kind of stuck with them. The only thing bad that I've heard about a particular manufacturer was the XFX manufacturer, and that was because they didn't take the BIOSes very well. So people said just to kind of stay away from those. But other than that, I think it was just personal preference, and if it would come down to it to where, Sapphires were exponentially cheaper than the MSIs, or if I found a great deal on Sapphires, I'm not against buying those. It's just you get used to the responsiveness, where the power plugs are and everything. Just personal preference.
Cool. Okay, so I guess we can kind of cover more what Darcrus is and what you hope to achieve with it.
So Darcrus is going to hopefully help enterprises, businesses, companies migrate away from traditional SQL databases that you have to set up replication, you have to encrypt the database, you have to set up recovery procedures, policies, and those all have to be maintained. They have to be exercised. And in some instances, depending on how important the data is, you have to have specialized people that do nothing but that function. So what Darcrus wants to do is take platforms that are already built. So NXT, Waves, or Stratus, and they're build their C# node system. You know, I guess Ethereum eventually, if they can, stop forking all over the place, and take that and basically become the interface for a business and give them a web GUI. So, you go to work, and some people at my job, they do help desk functions. So they have a help desk web GUI they can look at. What we can do is we can go in and take their GUI, take the front end of it, make it look exactly the same, but on the back end, interface with a high-speed blockchain. And as soon as they save the ticket, instead of having it go to a SQL database and then a runtime in their task sequence, and it says, hey, you know what, now it's time to back up, or the nightly backups, or they have to change the tape archives, and hopefully the tape works, and all those things. As soon as they hit save, it automatically starts replicating to their company nodes. And you can, build your own private chains with your own node system for all of your remote locations. And those are automatically replicated, snapshotted. There's really no overbearing procedure to keep those going and recovering those. So yeah, I did tape swapping in one of my jobs too, and it was horrible. And guess what? We never did. We never tested those tapes. When you have a backup, you can have the best backup policy on the planet, but if you never test it, you don't know how to do it. When it's time to do it, you're probably going to do it wrong. But with Darcrus, what we're trying to do is basically give a double-click application. So if somebody hacks into your nodal system and you say, okay, well, that's cool, you just turn that node off because all of your stuff is everywhere. So I used an example on my site. If you have a London, Tokyo, New York, and San Francisco node, and Tokyo, has an earthquake and their entire building is destroyed, and their node goes, it's just destroyed, that's quite all right, because those people in Tokyo, they'll have a plan to go to a different safe spot if they need to continue working, and they'll just power another node on, or they'll use a node that's in San Francisco, New York, or London. And none of that data was ever lost, because as soon as they saved it in Tokyo, it was replicated across their entire infrastructure. So I guess in short, since that was kind of long-winded, I want to get rid of the word recovery, because you never lost anything.
Okay, so with your different chains, you said you have Next, Waves, and Stratus. Now, from my readings, it seems like Next and Waves are very similar, or like Waves is kind of a spin-off of Next. And I don't know too much about Stratus, but can you, I guess, outline like the applications on top of these three chains? Not really like building your own chain or something that is specialized to just one. It's kind of like this is a custom app system.
Yeah. So what I don't want to do is have to maintain the underlying blockchain protocol. When Ethereum forks, the last thing I want to do is stop developing an application for a company to go fix, an implementation over to the left or an implementation over to the right, or hey, we've got a future drift problem in a forked Blackcoin implementation for our interim wallet, which we just had to do for Stratus. So basically, I'm not going to let them, but they're building the protocol platform. So think of it as, Ethereum, Waves, Stratus, and Next are the operating system, and I'm just building applications on top of those. So businesses are going to need multiple implementations for whatever kind of application they run today. So if you're a company and you have a SQL database, we can replace that SQL database application and the front end with what I'm calling is a DAP sheet, because my first thought was an accounting spreadsheet. So I was like, oh, everybody likes to call them DAPs, and I like to call it a spreadsheet, so we're going to call it a DAP sheet. But the company could call it the exact same name they have for their application today. So it doesn't have to change, but that's what the generic version will be called, or DApp sheets.
Okay, so like meeting with some people in the banking industry on Monday night, I went to this a fintech event, but they didn't really know any other chains. Like if you mentioned Ethereum, it was way over their head. So what's kind of going to be the baseline app you're going to offer to them? Is it going to be on Stratus or is it going to be on NXT? Like what is the kind of the go-to chain for you?
So the alpha version will be a fork of a Bitcoin chain, because I know the API well. I know how to interface with it. Waves is still pretty new. NXT is getting ready to change to Ardor, and Stratus doesn't have their C# node completely built. So I'm kind of, and like we've kind of talked about, Ethereum has I think they have a protocol problem, but I can't speak to if they do or not. So Bitcoin is, the longest chain. Bitcoin has been around the longest. That platform, or that operating system, looking at it from my standpoint, is the best thing to build on for either a proof of concept, and for something to take to a business and go, hey, look, this is what you could have. And the way you explain it to people is, you don't walk into a company and try to explain the blockchain to them, because they're going to probably laugh at you when you leave. You go in and you show them problems that everybody has. Everybody has a replication problem. Everybody has a recovery problem. Everybody's getting hacked. It's not when you get hacked or if you get hacked, it's when you get hacked. And how do you recover from that hack? So what I want to show them is that with this system, with Darcrus, you have to worry about it, of course, but you'll have your data will be encrypted as soon as you save it or transact it. From a blockchain person's perspective, they're transacting when they click save. It'll be encrypted, it'll be replicated, and as soon as they get it saved by clicking the button, that data is now available for anybody that is connected to their node system. So like an internal accounting system may be what I call a private node. It's a private chain with private authorization for viewing. And then you have private public, which would be a private chain or permission chain. You have to have some type of authentication to write to that chain, but public viewing. And a good one for this to kind of get in your head, a private would be like an internal database for employee data, medical records, or not medical records, but home record, their date of birth, all those things that go along that are sensitive to an employee. And then a public or a private public would be something like maybe a gambling site, or a dice site, something like that, because you have to have an account to make a bet. So that's the private part. But the public part is anybody can check to make sure that the bets are given in an approvably fashion way. So you can validate all of the bets. You can validate the results without ever needing to actually have an account there. So I think that would help, like a gambling site or a dice site like that.
Okay, so have you done any kind of example runs of what the cost might be? And I guess they may change as whichever chain they're using gets more utilized. Like say, Ethereum's a general purpose chain, but if something like Augur starts hogging up all the gas prices, well, then other dApps are going to be more expensive. So can you kind of draw some comparisons of traditional system costs to this?
So it depends on which type of chain they want. And then the last chain is a public to where you would use the public chain and it's viewably by the public. So that would be, so private, there is no, it's basically a private chain with a faked currency. We'll pre-mine 1 billion coins, and every time you get, there's another piece to it where you can do authentication with private keys of the private chain. So basically when you issue somebody their private key for authentication, you basically issue them currency to transact if they need to be able to transact. If not, they're all linked together. to where they can spend their own currency inside the private chain. The private public can be the same way. You can, the currency doesn't have to be used by Ethereum, or if that's the example, you don't have to use actual Ethereum to write to the chain because it's your private chain, but it's only publicly viewable. Excuse me. But the public-private chain, I would when I would go into the consultation meeting, I would consult with them to say, hey, every so often you need to verify against a public chain like Ethereum. Excuse me, hang on.
It's all good.
So that you can basically keep a tracking point and a tracking mechanism outside of your facility and your organization to make sure that everything is still verifiable by a third party.
Yes, I know some of the applications that I've seen with blockchains, like one of the best things is a notary service where you can kind of have like a provable consensus of the network that something exists or something has happened. So that's kind of where you get a lot of validation power from using a blockchain.
Yep, that is totally true. And there's a question about speed of accessing the data. So the speed is no slower than taking a regular web request or a regular SQL request, because you'll have, I mean, the cost of the node is very minimal. So you can have one locally, or you can have one in an Amazon instance, depending on what kind of strategy your company has. So I mean, the data will be it'll be replicated at least as fast as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's one of the slower ones. But you don't have to wait for, so the confirmations will 100% make sure that the data is verified. But you'll be inside your company, you'll be able to work off zero confirmation data if need be.
Well, and he mentioned, yeah, kind of read data, I can imagine is going to be very similar to speeds to traditional systems. But what about write data, I guess? Like you're saying zero confirmations can be trusted, but is that in all instances?
So the level of trust and how fast that trust is acceptable is definitely a policy of whichever company starts using this. So I'm not going to be the one to go in to say, hey, you need to be able, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It'll be more of a recommendation that, hey, for this type of data, you need to allow one confirmation before it's looked at as gospel, or it really depends on what they want, and you just kind of help them get to where they need to go. Man, I'm running out of gas in my throat. Holy moly.
Yeah, sorry, I'm making you do all the talking.
No,
And
you're totally cool. It's just I was telling Alex earlier, I just got over a cold, and I was kind of hesitant because I thought that my throat would start going out, and it is. So bear with me. I apologize. I'm going to cough a lot.
That's all right. No, we'll keep this brief. I don't want to take too much of your time. So another question from the chat here is, I guess, where is the value of the DAR token coming from? Like, how can people expect a return?
Okay, so the Darcrus token, some of the value will be returned in a buyback program. So we got the rigs. I would like to expand our rig, the mining farm, with some of the funds that are raised, and that will return whatever Bitcoin we mine. Trade whatever we're mining for Bitcoin, and then I will go back to one of the major exchanges and just do a buyback of those Darcrus tokens, and then burn those Darcrus tokens that I buy back. So that's one way. The other way is consulting fees with businesses. Those will be used in the buyback program as well. And those, I can't guarantee you when, we're going to sell something or how often we'll sell something, but I can tell you that the mining buyback program will be a monthly. Let me pull up the. But yeah, so that's kind of how you get value back from the Darcrus token. I'm going to buy back from the exchange, and then do the burn.
So it works very similarly to Gambit in the way that you're not doing dividends, but you're doing reduction of supply to increase the value of the remaining supply.
Correct.
I think that's a really interesting way to go about it, and I'm not sure. I have to talk to Richie again or Bill again from Bittrex, because I know some of their concerns is trying to avoid being classified as a security when you promise something like dividends. So
Yep, I talked to Bill about that already. I've already talked to Bill and Ryan and Richie. So that's one of the considerations of why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
Yeah, no, it's good that you're kind of going about it that way, because we are kind of getting to those blending lines of like, oh, these almost seem like an IPO or like going beyond a crowd sale and almost acting more like a share of a company.
Yep, but Darcrus is not a company, so.
Okay. So is it going to be just you, or I hear you say we a couple times? It sounds like there's some other members of the team.
So there will be other members, but I've kind of answered in Slack a couple times, and some of the FAQs is, they're like, oh, who's all your developers and all those things. I haven't hired any other developers yet. There's two reasons. The first reason is I need to raise my minimum first, 1,000 Bitcoin, and then I'll find developers in the languages that we want to go forward with. Whether it be Java, C#, C++. And then I know we'll need a JavaScript front end developer. But the reason I didn't go out and hire, find all these people up front, because you see some of these ICOs that have, I think one I saw the other day, they have 30 people on their team and they haven't even started anything yet. So I'm like, how are you supposed to support 30 people, when you don't have a product, you don't have a customer base? I just didn't want to do that to anybody, and I didn't want to do that to to people that are going to buy these tokens. I didn't want it to raise the money and go, oh yeah, well we ran through all of our money because we hired 30 people before we had anything to make to pay any of these people. So that's reason number one. And two, I guess, is I didn't want to hire anybody because I want to make sure I hit my goal, and I don't want to have overhead that is unneeded at the beginning. But there is a small contingent team right now that's helping me do things. I've got core media helping me with tweeting, articles, translation, finding people to do the translations. And then I've got Dave Ma. I've worked with Dave for close to 2 years on various different projects. And he's kind of being my community manager, bounty guy, making sure that the translators, did the translations, make sure the signature campaign's going okay, make sure people change their signature. But as developers go, there is no other developer. But being in the field that I'm in the military, a lot of people get out, and since we kind of get free education, a lot of people go back to school when they get out and learn different things. And I know a lot of them go to school and become programmers in different fashions. So I can reach out to them and hire, because somebody had asked, well, blockchain devs are A, really expensive, and B, they're not very many. Well, okay, I got that, but I don't need a blockchain developer. I need a developer that can interface with RPC calls, APIs, and can build a front end. And I can teach, blockchain, or I can teach the basics of a blockchain. And if they really want to learn the blockchain, and I mean, they can read about it. But I don't need a Bitcoin, core developer to join my team, because I just don't need one.
Yeah, you're really only teaching like how to interface with a blockchain. You're not teaching them how to create Bitcoin from scratch.
Correct.
So I think you have a real smart plan there with not getting too ahead of yourself. Like obviously having a minimum funding goal, and I think you mentioned too that would be kind of your goal required for you to actually do this full time. Like you
Yep.
wanted to have the threshold of actually say, okay, this is my means of employment now.
Correct, and that's why you know that's the minimum is 1,000 Bitcoin, because I want to I want to resign from the military as my full-time job and then do this full-time, because you know in this current position I'm in the previous position I did a lot of interfacing with the private sector for purchasing things, for buying services, for buying software, for buying hardware, and I do a lot of that now. So I know a lot of contract companies that are work for the DoD that have their private sector companies. I already have a lot of people that I can go and say, hey, here's an idea that you need to pitch to the larger companies that I can't get to, or you can get me in the front door with you and kind of ride coattails with some of the larger vendors and third-party retailers that sell to big companies.
Okay. Well, just looking at your homepage here, it looks like you're almost halfway there now. So it's how many more days do you have left?
We will go until the 11th of December, and then if you this week until Saturday. I'm sorry, Sunday. Let me scroll around. I'm trying to find out the exact time. I don't want to misquote my own time.
1 hour or 1 day and 15 hours?
Yep. So that's the 25% bonus, and then after that, we'll go down to 15% until the 4th of December, and then we'll drop to 5% till the 10th of December, and the very, 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 very last day is 0% bonus, and that's until 5:59 or 17:59 GMT on December 11th. That's when the ICO will close, and it all is based on timestamps of when you send your Bitcoin. So like I had a bunch of questions because the blockchain was very slow our first day. Um, it doesn't matter when it actually confirms, as long as it confirms. I guess I'll say that. But as soon as you send it, it's time stamped, and as long as that timestamp is before the cutoff, you get that bonus rate. So you know that was very helpful. You know that's all built into the blockchain, and it's built into the platform that it recognizes the timestamps of transaction creation, not transaction confirmation.
Yeah, Bitcoin seems to have value transfer down, but now it's just a matter of doing all these other applications with it.
Yep.
So one guy in the chat here was asking, how long do you think Darcrus will take to get to the stage where it's ready to be used by companies? So I guess can you outline the roadmap a bit more and
So I'm planning on having the alpha version completed and ready to start showing people in March of 2017. That's the C++ implementation that's built with the framework off of Bitcoin. The Project Jupiter. So I've talked to a couple companies already before I even did the ICO launch. Wanted to make sure that I wasn't just going off my rocker. So for April, so March, to answer the question, the alpha release would be the release that I would show companies, and that's in March, the DApp sheet version 1. So in April, what I'd like to start with continuing work on the DApp sheet is what I call Project Jupiter, and what it's going to do, hopefully, is give a new logging solution for security companies. One of my friends, he owns his own security company, and they do auditing. They implement PCI compliance, server monitoring, and all of those other things that go along with providing a security platform for a company. And one of the things that he was looking for, after I kind of explained how blockchain technology worked and the verification of transactions and everything, is something that's provable in a log system that can't be tampered with. And if it is tampered with, you'll know right away. Because a lot of things happen when you get hacked. What's the first thing the person does when they get done doing whatever they were going to do, stealing the data, planting a bug, planting a virus, planting a Trojan? What do? They wipe their traces that they hacked in. But if you have a logging system that's based on the blockchain and transactions, as soon as the transaction takes place that they logged in or that something logged in, you can't get rid of it unless you break the entire chain. And then you'll know something happened because now the chain's forked, broken, but your other node systems will have what happened. So they could take that whole node down, but as soon as they log in, the back end of the DApp sheet, the back end of the logging program replicates that data to their other nodes. So it's basically foolproof, dummy-proof replication and backups. That, you know, and the thing that I'm worried about right this second with the logging is the scale at which logs move. Depending on what and how many, logs move really fast. So I have to figure out how to do a rotational logging system based on the blockchain that can timestamp and offload those transactions. So I haven't quite, 100% figured out. I'm not saying somebody else hasn't, but I haven't figured out yet how I want to finally and finish the implementation of the logging system. But I think that's really exciting. And he was excited about it. He was like, "Hey, that's really cool. I want to see this. I want to see what you're thinking when you get a little more solid plan about it." I said, "Okay, cool." So
Well,
then, yep,
it
go ahead.
sounds like you're going beyond financial companies. Like you're
Financial
looking at.
companies, or yeah, I mean they're there, but I mean there's so many other things out there that besides financial companies. I mean, everyday mom and pop businesses have a customer service database of their customers, and what do mom and pop shops not have money for? They don't have money for replication, for security. They don't have money to pay for a security expert to make sure all their holes are filled. What they can do is they can say, hey, you know what, instead of paying $5,000 for the newest SQL license and Server 2012 licensing, I can pay this guy whatever, and he can set up an Ubuntu server over here, an Ubuntu server over there, put this installation together, and now my data is always secured, it's always encrypted, and it's always replicated. So if some hacker gets into my actual underlying system, that's okay. You just turn that node off, and your data is on the other node. And then when you get your other node restored, you just install the system, and it syncs back up, just like you do with a regular, Bitcoin full node. When you open it up on your computer, you double click it, and it finds its peers, it finds its neighbors, and then it starts syncing. It'll be the same thing, except for a private company would have a configuration file with only allowing connecting to their peers. So, you just go into the configuration file, connect equals whatever their IP, connect equals whatever IP, and they'll build their own full mesh inside their own private company.
Yeah, we even have to do sort of. It's not really for security, but just for redundancy. Cattle records on our farm in case there's a barn fire. If we lose those records, that's a lot of very important information that needs to be backed up. So even multiple locations or even off-site locations would be really easy to deploy. So sticking with the open source kind of transparent mindset of the crypto community, like, is a lot of your stuff going to be kind of available for anyone to tinker with? Or
so my plan is with Darcrus is going to they as in us will be building the templates for all those platforms we've kind of discussed, and all of the templates will be available open sourced. So you can, if you are an enterprising young lad and you know how to work it, and you want to make your cattle farm records with a C++ implementation of a DApp sheet, it'll be there. What Sigwo Technologies will do is actually go in to businesses that don't understand blockchain, don't want to know blockchain, and don't really care about blockchain, but they really like the fact that they don't have to have specialized people anymore doing all these SQL things. They can hire different types of people to do different things, or those SQL database guys can go, hey, you know what? I don't need to know Microsoft SQL or Postgres or MySQL. I can learn how to do blockchain and learn how to program and say, hey, you know what, boss, instead of having that guy come back, now we can build and expand on what we want to do. So basically you just plant seeds across the businesses that you come across, and you can, you know, leave an administrator behind that we've trained. So sometimes when we buy products for the military, instead of going to hire somebody to work that product, we'll just buy one of the people that works at that company. So like Microsoft, we have a hundreds of thousands of Microsoft computers, servers, and everything else. So instead of hiring a bunch of Microsoft people, in some instances we just hire Microsoft people instead of hiring server admins or systems admins, and you know, in hoping they know Microsoft really well. We'll just hire the experts for Microsoft to come in and do what we need them to do.
Yeah, I've experienced that in the manufacturing industry, like controls. It's just a matter like you find someone who's been in multiple locations and learned everything, and then eventually they're ready to settle down, so it's easy to just hire them on. But the value proposition for the token is more on sales and support rather than the product itself.
Correct.
Okay. So the branding of it I found really interesting. Is that like a boar or some type of a wild pig on it?
No, it's a wolf head, and my daughter had found it, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, this is really cool. Look at this." And it was, I said, "Okay, it looks pretty cool." So I had a guy take it, wireframe it, you know, strip all the colors out of it, and I like it. I've had very mixed reviews. I had some guy making fun of it, and he said that, this guy's dumb. Why is he doing this? It should be you know, he should be making a game with that kind of a logo, and I'm not going to invest in it because it looks dumb. You know, I can't make everybody happy, but you know, I can make my daughter happy. I got to deal with her a lot longer. So
And rebranding is always the easiest thing to do. Like
it is, especially since, I mean, I haven't even finished the ICO yet. So I mean, you know, the December the 12th, when this guy doesn't invest in it, I come out with a badass logo, and he'd be like, "Oh man, I really missed out." But you know,
yeah.
logos are easy to change.
But what about the name? What does Darcrus mean?
I have, it's honestly, I made it up.
Is it an acronym or?
Nope, no acronym. I totally made it. Sigwo is an acronym. Sigwo stands for Signal Warrant Officer. So I took SIG and then WO for Warrant Officer. That's an acronym, or you know, a shortened version. But Darcrus, I don't even know. I kind of made it up, and I said, hey, you know what? It kind of sort of rolls off the tongue, maybe, and it's not. You know, nobody has Darcrus.com. I don't see any Darcrus things. I don't see any Darcrus anywhere. So I think that's what I'll go with. So I kind of liked it. I kind of digged it. So yeah, that's kind of how I came up with it.
Cool. Well, no, I hope you you see a lot of success in the ICO. I think all the friends that you've made in the space, we have a lot of mutual ones, and we're all kind of rooting for you here because we've seen the world. Know you continue to do good work.
Yeah, it's a small world, you know. So I was talking to somebody, and they're like, you know, what do you do? You know, how do you compare to this company, or how are you going to do this better than these people? You know, but you know, crypto is it's too small right now. You know, there's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of this team does this better, or this does this better. Right now, you know, there's so many. There's just not enough people in the space, you know, to be, you know, trying to tear each other down. I think we need to work a little better together, to build the entire cryptocurrency space, and this technology, and take it and run with it, because I think there's a lot of great things we can solve. Um, you know, there's always room to improve. You know, before SQL databases, there was some other kind of thing, and you know, before that there was something else. You know, and before that they were doing punch cards. You know, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, they never thought that we'd have, you know, iPhones with 100 or 256 gigs of RAM in it, or space in it. You know, and you know, little bitty guys that are this size that you can hold 128 gigs of RAM. I mean, things are just totally different. And if you have to keep going forward, because if you don't go forward, you'll start going backward.
Yeah, no, it's really easy to realize just in the last couple of years, like how many life-changing, like things will never be the same type of products or just anything really. Like you know, for our great grandparents, it was electricity, but then then there was like automobiles and trains and the internet, and like it just they're happening more and more frequently. So it's really hard for, I think, us to say that, oh yeah, no, this is what it's going to be for the rest of time. Like
Yeah, I mean, so I was saying the other day, you know, my kids will never know that people have phones in their houses because I haven't had a home phone since 2003. I've had a cell phone, or TVs were actually not always flat. You know, you can't find a not flat TV anymore. You know, all of these things that we take for granted. You know, kids that are growing up now are they're like, oh well, that I never knew any other way. You know, so it's really cool to watch. You know, when I'm 70 or 80 years old, it'd be cool to look back and go, hey, that was cool stuff that we did when we were kids. I say kids, I'm 35, but you know, I think it's going to be a great journey. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the train and ready to go.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and yeah, I'm really glad that we got a lot of new viewers, I think, for the show tonight. It seems you've brought the whole NXT crowd out and the core radio guys, so it was really glad to have you on, and yeah, maybe we'll talk again soon when I have a better internet connection.
Awesome, we'll do. Yeah, I will definitely come back when we get our alpha version up.
I look forward to it. Now, I think you're familiar with the show. We have a little tradition here where we try and predict the price of Bitcoin in 1 week's time.
1 week. Let me zoom out. Let's see.
Right now we're cruising at $736. We got a little bit of a ramp up here.
Yeah, let's see. See, last week we broke the high. I think next week will be. So we're talking spot price.
Yep, we're going spot price on Bitcoin.
Spot price. I'm gonna go spot price 770. 774.50.
All right, 450. Now, I'm going to be a little more reasonable with my guess and say we're probably not going to be outside of this range. But, you know, with all the crazy shit that's going on all around the world, you know, like India's taking all their money.
Yeah, well, India's at $1,000 a Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, and that's in American prices. Canadians have $1,000 a coin right now in Canadian dollars. So
yeah, I think that'll start pushing the price up. I think people are right now figuring out how to buy Bitcoin here and get it over there to sell it for a profit. So I think that's going to push the price up this week.
Yeah, I'm going to say the top side of this range here, which is 752.
752. See, I zoomed out the week.
Yeah, anything can happen here, but you know, the future looks bright. We're seeing lots of good news here, and yeah, no, the guys here in the chat, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your questions and commentary and bearing with us in the beginning there. I'll see about maybe editing out some of the awkward silence, but you know, yeah. So if you have any suggestions for the show, any other projects you want to come on, be sure to you know, tweet at us, block_talk. Yeah, it's like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. And Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. And Jordan, I am no cabbage tech. I assure you that. And I didn't wear my Marshmallow Man hat. So Luke is going to be disappointed with me.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next 1,000 blocks.
Thanks.